Okay everybody, so in this video I'm going to show you all how to create your mandala in your sketchbook and how to create a circle and kind of measure it out and add the designs and all of that. Normally in class we actually do like a bigger one and we cut it out, but for virtual learning I've kind of altered this a little bit. So the best thing to do is kind of go around your house and find something that's a circle that can fit within the size of your paper. So I found a mixing bowl and it fits pretty like exact. If I go even a little bit bigger, it's going to be way too like it's going to go off the edges. So this is pretty perfect. So I would try to find something, you know, that fills the space. You know, you don't want to do a circle that's this small and then you have all the empty space on your page. You definitely want a bigger circle. The bigger the circle, the easier it's actually going to be to section off your mandala and to add your designs inside your mandala. So that is also helpful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my pencil and trace around my circle. Like so. All right, so now I have a perfectly round circle, but now I want to section it off into pie pieces. So I am going to do my best to make them even. And this is really important because if they're even, it's going to be easier to fit your designs inside the pie sections. But if they are uneven, then you're going to have to maybe alter your designs a little bit to get them to connect. And you'll see what I'm talking about once I get there. But the easiest way is to possibly use a clear ruler so that you can see the lines underneath it. If you don't have a ruler, that's fine, or you can use anything that has like a straight edge. So like literally even this works fine, except it just doesn't go to the very edges of my circle. So I don't actually want to use that. But yeah, anything that has a straight edge is fine. Okay, even like a binder, all right? Because we're not measuring anything, so we don't actually need the numbers on our ruler. We just need something that's straight. All right, so I'm going to try to eyeball where it's even on my page and cut my circle in half. So if I actually do this, might be able to see it a little bit better. No, that doesn't really look like that. Okay, it doesn't look quite even. I'm going to bring it over just a little bit more. Looks a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this one. Right, and then I'm going to do the same thing going across. So again, that looks a little high, so I'm just going to bring it down just a tiny bit. Go ahead and erase this. So normally in class when we cut the circle out, and you know, if you have scissors, you can do it a different way that might work easier, but we normally will cut the circle out and then we just fold it so that we get even sides. But I realize some of us might not actually have scissors, so, you know, trying to work with what we got. All right, so now we have 4 sections, but we're gonna make more. So I wanna do at least 8. So then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 pie sections. So now I'm gonna go diagonally. And I don't know, what do you think? That looks pretty even. So you want to make sure you go through the center okay? Oh, that is not the center, so let me move that over. Okay, better. Okay, so now we have our 8 pie sections. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I am going to grab a scrap piece of paper, and this can just be like computer paper or line paper or just another sheet from your sketchbook, whatever. Any of those will work. And I'm going to darken one of my pie pieces. And I'm going to do this so that I can actually see my pie piece through the other piece of paper. And I can sort of see it, but in order to help you see it a little bit better, you can do a number of things. You can use your cell phone and turn the light on and stick your cell phone underneath it. Or you can use a window to kind of create kind of like a light box. So here I'm using the window. I've placed the scrap piece of paper over top of my mandala, and you can see the pie piece there. So then I can take this and I can just trace it right here on the window. This is also how you're gonna trace each design into each pie square as well, and you'll see that in just a second. All right, so now that you have your pie piece traced onto your scrap paper, you're actually going to design your mandala design on the scrap piece of paper in the one pie piece. Once we design that, then you're actually going to take your mandala and place it over top your pie piece and then trace your design inside your mandala, and you can then twist it and just keep repeating the same design inside to create your actual mandala. Okay, so now that I have this one traced out already, I can show you what I'm talking about when you move to the next one. So you can either slide the next one over like so. So then this is how your pattern will be, which is totally fine. It's obviously, it's your mandala. It's completely up to you. And you can see, remember how I said like the measurements might be a little off and you might have to adjust. So you can see like my line it's not, you know, as it gets further to the center, it kind of is widened. So you might just have to make some slight adjustments to kind of fit your design within your pie piece. And that's just because we didn't actually take the time to measure each one to make it exact. And that's totally okay. And that's why we do it in pencil, so we can kind of erase and make those adjustments. So this is one way, and then that design will continue to repeat that same way around. Or you can take your pie piece, flip it over, and now you have two that are semi-connecting, like this connects to this one, and then these lines connect. So it's really up to you how you want that design to flow and how you want that to work together. I kind of like that they connect, so I'm going to be flipping mine. All right, so I am going to go ahead and trace this all out for you, and then I'll come back at the end. All right, so now you can see that my mandala is completely traced out, and it looks super cool. So now the next step is to start designing your color scheme that you want to do. So out of the color schemes that we have been going over and studying, you're going to choose one of those that you like. And you are going to kind of plan it out, and you can use your pie square to plan out where you want the certain colors to be. You can also add tints and shades. So a hue is the actual color. It's kind of like a fancy name for a color. So name of color. A tint is not like the tint on your car. It's actually the opposite. So it's color plus white. So hue plus white, which means it's a lighter color, a lighter version of that color. And a shade is a darker version of whatever color or hue that you decide to choose. So it's actually a shade plus black. Sometimes people actually will do a hue plus brown or plus gray, and that's just by preference. Especially when painting, black can be really powerful, and if you accidentally add too much, it changes the whole thing to black. So a lot of times artists will either use like a gray or a brown just to kind of not make that mistake, and it doesn't make it as dark. So those are just kind of like a preference thing. But these you can definitely add into your design as well, but I'm not going to make it a requirement. The only requirements are that you have a mandala with a repeated shape, that you have your color scheme, you have 8 sections. Is there anything else I'm missing? Let me check. Okay, so the requirements for this project, you just need to make sure that it is a mandala so that it has a radial balance. You have a pattern inside that is repeated, so we're showing repetition. And a color scheme that we studied. You can add tints and shades if you want, but it's optional, so not required. You do have to have 8 sections on your mandala, so 8 pie pieces. Make sure that it's neat, and outlining is optional. So if at the end you decide that you want to outline with a Sharpie or some type of black marker, you can, but it's not required. And I'm also gonna put 7, it's your choice of materials, so any media. So if you have paint at home and you want to paint it groovy, if you don't and you just want to do colored pencils, that's totally fine too, or oil pastels or whatever it is that you have at home, you are welcome to use that, or experiment with a new material that you find at home, maybe something that's non-traditional like coffee or something. Whatever works for you works for me. As long as you're meeting all these requirements, then you're good. So after I kind of have made my list here and I know that I need to make sure that I have these things, I've got my 8 sections, I've got that, I think I'm probably going to do colored pencil or marker, so possibly marker. I might outline. Outlining can be helpful too if you accidentally, like with marker, let's say you kind of go over your line. Sometimes it can be useful as like a problem solver to kind of cover that up with an outline, so that it's less noticeable. So that might be something that I do later in case I jump outside my line. Of course it's going to be neat. So I need to have a color scheme. So I'm really feeling like cool colors, and maybe because it's raining outside. So our cool colors are blue, purples, so blues, purples, dark, well, that would be a dark purple. I was gonna say a dark red, but it would be part of that. So blues, purples, and sometimes a green. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of start thinking, you know, where I want to put these specific colors. So I think what I'm gonna do first is actually go and take a look at my colors and see which ones I actually have, or if I can make certain colors, or if maybe I want to do colored pencil and marker in case I don't have certain colors in marker, but I have them in a colored pencil. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at those, and then I'm going to write down inside my design which is going to be which so that I don't get confused when I start coloring on my final. Alright, so now that I've decided on the colors that I'm going to use for my color scheme, so I'm doing cool, now I can start kind of deciding like where I want to put these colors in my pie design. Alright, so here is my design for my colors. Now that I have that, I'm going to start working on my final and color it completely in. Once I'm finished, then I'm going to take a photo and upload my assignment and I'll be done. So that is how you are going to create your mandala, the steps you're going to take in order to you know, to get there, and how you can plan for your assignment, how you should be planning, and how helpful it is. I'm really glad that I decided to color this in. At first I was just going to label it, but I thought it would be a good idea to color it so that I could actually see how the colors interact with each other, which is great because these two seem very dark and they're right next to each other. And I'm not quite sure if I actually like this green because of that, because it's getting very lost, but there's a really nice contrast between all of these colors here. So I might be replacing this color. And now that I see that, you know, that was really good planning and practicing on my part to see how the colors actually interacted with each other. So, so that's how you are going to create your mandala. Now, I'm sure there will be a question if you can leave some spaces white or black. I am going to say no, just because it is based on our color schemes that we studied. And the whole point is to kind of really understand like how colors kind of like interact with each other, which is great because this is a perfect example of how these two really dark colors are interacting with each other versus these two. So, you know, if you do like complementary colors tend to kind of make our eyes vibrate. And white will definitely kind of break that up. So definitely color all the areas of your mandala and really, you know, take that in with your color scheme. And then of course you can add hues, tints, and shades. Well, you'll definitely have a hue, but you can add tints and shades. So you can definitely add darker versions of the color that you have or a lighter version of that. And again, I would practice those, especially if you're using markers or colored pencils, because markers don't blend the way colored pencils do. And colored pencils definitely blend easier, but they still don't blend as well as like an actual pencil or oil pastels do. So definitely practice that before you start your assignment.